Hello guys. So one super important thing to think about when setting up native ScreamerNET is content directories, and think about whether you're using project-based content directories, or if you're using a single global content directory. Now, Lightwave is designed for the latter, so a single content directory is how ScreamerNET is designed. Now, if you're using Muster or other, third-party render controllers, you don't have to worry about that because it supports multiple content directories. But when setting things up natively, you don't have support for that. And the reason we'll show here. If I take this bat file and edit it, we can see here that it needs to know where the content is resided. So in this case, what I have done is I've set up something called Lightwave ScreamerNET content, and what I do is to, as a workaround, is to, I'm still working with this project-based content directory, but as soon as I want to render something, I use package scene to send it over to this ScreamerNET global content directory. So I never have to go in and change this bat file in order for, if I have a couple of different projects, I don't want to have to open this bat file and change this content directory all the time. So that's kind of the tricky thing with the native controller as it is right now. So you just have to accept that that's how it works at the moment. But if you're using a render farm controller, there's no real issue. So now that we have that stuff cleared out, or cleared up, what I need to do is to think about, if I have a couple of computers, which one, the number one thing is to decide which one should act as a server. And acting as a server, I mean from where all the content will be loaded, and also from where ScreamerNET will be loaded, so you don't have to install Lightwave on all your machines. Essentially, the only thing that you should have to have on the render nodes is a bat file like this. That's the only thing that you should actually have. So in this case, I'm going to say that, okay, this is the computer that will be the server. So I need to set that up. And this means that the installation that I have here with Lightwave isn't really going to work because I need to have other things set up for it. So what I will do is I will just take all this stuff and copy it, and I will create a new folder here. I will call this LWSN, and I will just paste everything in here. Now you don't need all of this stuff for ScreamerNET. I'm just doing this because it's faster for me to just copy everything. And while this one is copying here, I will go back here and create a new folder, and I will call this ScreamerNET content. Okay. So this folder and this folder is something that I will actually share, and then I will map that share as a network drive. You can actually use UNC paths as well, but for in this tutorial I will just do map drives because it's kind of easier, or at least it's visually more telling on how everything works. Because once you understand this, it's going to be much easier for you guys to use other render controllers or I mean third-party controllers and set that up so that it works. So I'm going to right-click, go to Properties and Sharing, Advanced Sharing, yes. And I want to share this folder, and I want to make sure that the access rights are set to everything. Okay. Okay, and then I do the same thing for this ScreamerNET content. So properties, sharing, advanced sharing, yes. Oops, like so. Okay. Okay. So I have shared these two folders. So what I do now is if I actually browse, bring this one up here, we can see all the stuff that is available here. And if we go to network, we can see that I have my Music 2 computer, which is this computer that I'm sitting at right now. So I go in here and we can see that we have the LWSN folder and we have the ScreamerNET content folder. So I go in here and I just copy this path here and map it to let's say O. You can map it to whatever letter you want. The important thing though is that for all the other computers in the network you should map these things exactly the same. So on my other workstation later on I will map this path to O. Okay, so let's go back here and let's go in here, copy that, and again I want to map that, and I will use N for the Lightwave ScreamerNET content. And again, this is something that I need to do on all the workstations, but this is the only thing I need to do on those workstations, is to do exactly what I did right now with these two folders, and making sure that I'm using the same letter. So now that we have shared those, we need to configure this Lightwave here that resides in LWSN folder to work through network instead of what it is right now. So these shortcuts here, I can just throw them away. Let's go into the configuration folder and delete all that stuff as well, because I need to create new shortcuts. So I go into the bin folder and I just need layout, and in this case what I do, instead of doing what I almost did, is to select the O drive here instead. So now we are in the Lightwave ScreamerNET folder. We are inside this one. So this folder that you see here, it's the same as this. It's just that this one is now on the network instead. So let's create a new shortcut here. Let's go into the configuration folder of O config here, copy that. Let's right click on the layout shortcut, bring up properties, and I would just add this C that tells that this is the configuration folder for this Lightwave, this Lightwave ScreamerNET version. Okay, so what I do now is I will start this layout up, and it has to think a little bit. Hello, come on, don't be afraid. Okay, so it doesn't really matter that this version of Lightwave that I'm starting now, this will be my ScreamerNET controller for Lightwave, but it doesn't really matter that it's in discovery mode, because we are going to render through ScreamerNET, and it doesn't actually deal with licensing. So the only thing I need to do here is to make sure that I scan the plugins, of course. So scan directory, and I will select my O drive here and just hit OK. And as you saw, I have a plugins third-party folder here where I have all the third-party tools that I use. So, and the scanning will take a little bit of time now, so I will just pause the recording while it scans. And as you can see now, it's scanned, so it found a bunch of plugins here. So let's just go to done, and let's also set up the content directly here. So edit, set content directory, and I want to set that content directory to the N drive. Okay, so let's just close Lightwave, And if we go into the configuration folder here now, we can see that everything is created for me. If I take a look at the external you know, this file that tells where Lightwave can find all the plugins, we can see that it's set to O, so it's set up correctly. And when you deal with this stuff, it's important that you really know about creating custom configuration paths, because if I wouldn't have done this, and let's say that my real installation of Lightwave hasn't been set up to use custom configuration paths, I could actually have destroyed my installed version of Lightwave where I work. This is my ScreamerNET thing, and it's something that is different from my work file, but I could essentially have destroyed my settings. So it's important that you set up custom configuration paths. So now that we have essentially prepared everything on the Lightwave side, we need to prepare the bat file as well. So let's just bring up let's just edit this one. So it's Lightwave 11 sp3. So where is the bin folder resided on the network? Well, it's on the O. So I copied that path and I will just replace this. Okay. The next thing it needs to know is where are the configuration files. Well, they are also on O, but in the config folder. So let's copy that and let's replace this stuff here. And it's much shorter. And then we need to know where the Lightwave ScreamerNET content is. So it's on N, so just copy that. Let's replace all that stuff. And then we have the job. What ScreamerNET does is that it creates a job file and a ACK file for when it works, when it's actually rendering, and you have to have a folder where this stuff can be stored. So I will go to the O folder again, and in here I will just create a new folder. I will call that SN ScreamerNET command, and let's just copy that path. Let's replace. So I will replace up until there, and let's do the same thing for the ACK as well. So we have now prepared our first ScreamerNET node. So let's just save that. And I want these bat files because you can just duplicate them, but I want them also to be read from the network. So in here I will create a new folder called ScreamerNET bats. Kind of a cool name actually. So I've just cut that one in and paste it in here because I don't want it on the on my desktop. So each computer that has these two folders mapped correctly will be able to access these nodes, and as I said, you can duplicate these quite easily. So let's do that. Let's just copy and paste, and let's rename this one to 02, and let's of course edit it. So I need to change a couple of things. Of course, this is ScreamerNET node 2, and I need to change the job 1 to job 2 and ACK 1 to ACK 2, and let's just save. So if you have 3 computers, well, just copy and paste, and let's rename this one to 3, and let's just edit it. So this is ScreamerNET node 3, and I need to change job 2 to 3 and ACK 2 to ACK 3, like so, and let's save. So that's essentially what you do. So for each computer that you want, and of course they are actually named wrong, they are 1102, so I just rename them quickly here to 03, like so. So we are now finished with our ScreamerNET setup. So what we need to do now is to take some content and actually test this with. So I will do that in the next video. So see you guys.